than one country.
It's not just ordinary people who don't understand it. I don't understand it at all, logically. Mind you, I am an ordinary person. I think that the discussion, my lords, so far has been very helpful at raising some very key issues that the country is preoccupied with. And I think that the sensible way to approach this, which I think people have started to do, is to say there should be a proper, open debate on it, which is why, in fact, we need to have a proper discussion about whether the 1951 Refugee Convention is appropriate for 2025 and very different circumstances. And actually, some of the amendments have allowed us to reflect on that. I would like to say that the Noble Lord Empsey's speech, all I can say is every word, I mean, really on the money, absolutely, hear, hear. Because I think that what we sometimes can do is have discussions in this chamber that bear little relationship to the political context and the social and cultural context of what everybody else in the country is talking about. And I have to say that there have been times during this debate in which the discussion about what constitutes safety and fleeing unsafe countries gives us a hint as to how we've got into what can only be described as a very serious political crisis in this country. Because the definition of what constitutes unsafe, the definition of what constitutes asylum, the definition of what constitutes refugee has become so expansive that it's a miracle or a mystery to me that anyone has been deported. And if anyone was listening, you would just think, oh, well, we can't do anything. And just to give you an example of some of the things that were argued, I was involved in a debate on radio about whether Albania was a safe country some months ago. And the example given was that one that's been cited here today about the levels of domestic violence in Albania. And I was pointing out that most of the people that I'd seen in the small boats who were Albanian didn't look like they were the victims of domestic violence. They might well, as of the historic split sex-wise in terms of domestic violence, have been the domestic violent abusers who are in the small boats. I was only pointing this out because I just think every time you say, well, surely there's no reason why they should be in this country, they're from a safe country, people will say, no, they're not, and then you basically get left in a situation where you can't remove them. At one point... Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
The noble lady moves on. That's exactly the point that many of us are making, that you cannot generalise. I think I can just put it that way.
And indeed, I was going on to quote, indeed, the noble Baroness Hanway, when she said that a country may be safe generally, but not for a particular section of the population. I think you were more or less saying that, about not generalising. And I agree that it's difficult to say this is a safe country or this is not. The problem I've got is that we either have a situation we say these countries are not safe, or we say every country can be safe, but not to some groups of people. And we end up, therefore, saying that the whole world is likely to, and sections of the whole world are likely to be unsafe and can come to the UK. And my argument is that we can't be in a situation where we open up to everybody who's in an unsafe situation from around the world. I mean, by the way, that would be true of this country. I mean, the United Kingdom, when it comes to, for example, the threat of violence against women and girls, you could say, well, the UK is a safe country. Well, let me tell you that it's not a safe country. It hasn't been a safe country in hundreds of towns in this country for thousands and thousands of young women, girls and children who were sexually abused and raped in their thousands in an industrial fashion, and that was in the safe country of the United Kingdom. So I'm not prepared to generalise, but I'm also saying that we can't simply say that the lived experience of those individuals who have suffered at the hands of others in other countries should be automatically assumed that they can move to the United Kingdom. I suppose that just gets me to the final thing that I wanted to say, ask for some guidance from the noble Lord, Lord Hanson, the Minister, in terms of the status of this bill. I mean, I did read through a lot of the sections of notes of things that I was going to say in preparation for today and for the forthcoming days of committee. And I did think, oh my goodness, this bill's completely out of date. And I don't mean it's out of date as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's out of date as far as the government's concerned. Because all of a number of amendments that I put my name to, I think that I'm now looking like a sort of lily-livered liberal type in comparison with some of the front bench comments made by Labour government ministers. I mean, I suddenly thought, I was being rather tentative there on the European Court of Human Rights and so on. But oh no, it's all full throttle. And a Home Secretary, covering herself in Union Jacks and flags and so on, as she's told us, and so on. I thought, I don't know where to go now. But in all seriousness, the government perfectly reasonably has said that the parliamentary time is short. In general, I mean, we all know that it's under a lot of scrutiny. There's an awful lot of amendments to this bill. I was going to ask whether it would be possible for the government front bench to maybe assess all the amendments that are in from all across the House in different directions and basically tick off all those which the government might actually now agree with, so that we don't waste parliamentary time discussing things which actually there's a sort of general unanimity, even if not amongst the backbench of the government, but certainly the front bench. And as we continue, however, because we will be discussing the bill, I do think we should just bear in mind constantly that the reason why there is concern for international conventions, European Court of Human Rights and so on, is that this Parliament, the whole point of us being here, has to pass legislation which it considers to be in the best interest of the people who live in this country and of this country, national interest being important. And if then the will of the people, as expressed in Parliament, cannot happen because of international conventions, human rights international laws, as liberally interpreted by a plethora of lawyers, then it means that democracy is threatened. And I therefore do agree with the noble Lord Blunkett when he says we should look at some of this again. And I do hope that the government will therefore look at it again and we don't have to waste time on some amendments which actually the government will, broadly speaking, agree with.